Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Rick Levy, president of the Texas AFL-CIO. Thank you all so much for joining us for our conversation today about building a bigger and broader labor movement here in the state of Texas. Want to welcome everybody that's joining us. Tell your friends. We're going to be talking with you for a few minutes. It's kind of a big deal about what's happening. So if you know other folks that you think would be interested, shoot them a text or shoot them a message and ask them to join us. Also, the chat is live, so we ask folks to let us know what union you're here from, and we will be taking questions. So anybody has a question, just feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll get to as many as we can in the course of the conversation. So the reason why we're pulling the folks together is because there's some pretty big news coming out of the labor movement here in Texas. And that is that we have some new officers that are getting ready to take over to take this labor movement to ever higher heights. And I'm really excited to bring you that information here today and give you a chance to hear from and talk to our new leaders. And you're saying, well, Rick, aren't you the leader right now? And I'm saying, yes, I am. But I've also decided that it is time for me to step aside and allow some new folks to take this on. And so I notified our executive board a little while ago, a couple months actually, and they have voted to install Leonard Aguilar as the next president and Lorraine Montemayor as the secretary treasurer, which I am extremely excited about. But I wanted to just take a minute, if I could, and tell folks how much I appreciate the journey that we've been on together. And again, as we move through this, please feel free to put questions in the chat. But, this has been probably the most amazing experience I've ever had, to be honored with the trust that the folks in the Texas labor movement have put in me to be in this position. Sometimes I'll go home and I'll say, wow, they're really paying me to do this job, because basically get paid to raise hell and build solidarity across the labor movement in Texas. What an amazing thing. And I was looking back in the course of this time, and I would look back to what we said our goals were when we first started down this journey with John Patrick some 10 years ago. And that was to build a broad and bold and dynamic labor movement by developing a culture of activism and solidarity. And, you look back at what we've done over the past 10 years together, and I feel like we've made a lot of progress in that respect. We've changed the Texas AFL-CIO a lot. We've stood on the shoulders of the folks that came before us and led us to this moment, and we've tried to honor that legacy and take us farther into the future. We've honored the legacy of the folks that I've served on, whether it's Becky Moeller or Emmett Shepard or Joe Gunn, who hired me in the first place here back in 1990, whether it was all the secretary treasurers that we've had a chance to work with, whether it was Montserrat or Paul Brown or, a whole host of folks that have been part of this journey. And you look at what we've done, and I feel like at this point, I feel like we've accomplished a lot of the goals that we set out to do. And it's, and frankly, I'm kind of old AF at this point, and I think it's time for new voices, new leadership that bring a new perspective with the same vision of what the Texas labor movement can be, which is really being the only force capable in this state of leading the resistance to the folks that are trying to take this state in exactly the wrong direction. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the transition. We're going to talk about some of the things that we've accomplished, and we're going to hear from Leonard and Lorraine to talk about what they see is going to be happening moving forward. So some of the things that I think that I feel really proud of that we've been able to do together is we've really grown and diversified the Texas AFL-CIO staff and executive board. We've created some really powerful new programs like the Texas Climate Jobs Project, the Texas Immigrant Worker Project. We've grown the Ruth Ellinger Leadership Academy to train a whole new generation of union leaders. We've created lots of on-ramps to activism for folks in the labor movement, whether it's the Women's Committee, the YAL, Young Active Labor Leaders, whether it's expanding our scholarship program for high school and now for continuing education for union members. That's really powerful stuff. And we've developed, I think, an innovative and professional legislative and political department. We've created an organizing department to understand that job number one is organizing new members. And our communication department is second to none in terms of putting out a message that the labor movement stands for justice for all workers, and consistently spread that message across all of our different platforms. Look, one of the things that I think is really something that I feel really proud of is that during our time here, we have been what I hope we have been is a clear force for justice for all working people, on all the issues facing working people. We've been there. We've showed up for our affiliates. We've showed up for organizing. We've showed up for workers who are under attack, either because of their union membership or because of who they are. And I think that's one thing that we will always stand for as a labor movement, that an injury to one is an injury to all. And if we can stay close to that vision, if we can continue to build a broader and bigger and bolder labor movement in accord with that vision, then there's no question that we are going to get about the business of really changing Texas. So with that, I want to bring on, if I could, Leonard Aguilar to visit with us. And again, please take time to put a little question in the chat. We're going to try and get to as many questions as we can. But Leonard has been elected to be the next president of the Texas AFL-CIO. And when I talk about my pride and excitement about what we've been able to do the last 10 years, that pales in comparison to the excitement that I feel about where we're going to go for the next 10 years. Leonard is somebody that has grown up in the labor movement, who is a person that the labor movement has directly changed his life, and that change is something he carries with him in all that he does. There isn't a harder working person in the labor movement in Texas who is totally committed to lifting up the voices of our members and the voices of our unions to their rightful place in this discourse. I am so thankful that Leonard has agreed to kind of take this on. I'm so thankful that he has been part of this organization and really been leading in a lot of ways for the last several years since he's been here, and very excited to see where he'll take this movement as we go forward along with the rest of you. So with that, let me turn it over to Leonard Aguilar, the president-elect of the Texas AFL-CIO. Leonard?
I appreciate it, Rick. Thank you very much. That is, it's hitting a little different now to hear that. Thank you for everything that you have done, and we will talk more about the work that you have been able to lead over the last 10 years. And it's a treat to be able to come to work every day and to be able to get to work alongside you and everybody, the rest of the team here at the Texas AFL. It's definitely a treat and an honor to do that. But again, before we get started, if you can, in the chat, if you folks would please drop your unions in the chat. Let's show some pride of where we're coming from and who we're representing. And if you can put that in the chat, we're all interested to see. We want to see how many unions we got that are with us this evening. But thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you for taking the time. Like Rick said, we are newly elected. I am the newly elected president, which we will take our oath here on the 2nd of December, and Lorraine is the secretary treasurer. And a little bit about me, for those of y'all that don't know me, I'm originally from San Antonio, from UA Local 142 in San Antonio, plumber, pipe fitter by trade, and was very fortunate to be able to get into that union. And through that opportunity, there's always been an opportunity that has grown and presented itself in front of me, and being involved and learning how to be involved, first obviously with my local union, then getting involved with my local building trades along with my local Central Labor Council, then state building trades, state AFL-CIO. So that's kind of a little bit of where I came from originally in San Antonio, moved up here about 4 years ago. right, I guess, right as the pandemic was going on, a little over 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and have been up here with the wife and family. And I got to acknowledge them, because without their support, without them being there, I wouldn't be here. Just to say it plain and simple, I wouldn't have this opportunity if it wasn't for the family that I have. So I have to thank them, along with, there's a lot of other folks that I could thank, but I'm going to start with them right now and acknowledge that without their support, this wouldn't be possible. But about what it means to be here as the next president, it is definitely an honor, and it hasn't really sunk in yet, and hasn't really registered. It's something that that I'm going to hold very, very, trying to keep a lot of respect to the position. Like Rick said, all of those that have come before us have laid the groundwork and have given us an opportunity to continue the great work that they have all started before us. And so that's what we're going to try to do. That is the biggest thing we're going to try to do, is try to expand and try to continue to evolve the Texas AFL-CIO as one of the best state federations in the country. And we can do that with the team that we have here. And but it's not going to be easy. We're going to need everybody to participate. We're going to need folks to come on board. We're going to need those new union leaders that are there that aren't even leaders yet. You guys that are in the rank and file space. If you're on this event here tonight, find out how you can get more involved. We're going to need more folks to become involved to get us to that next level, to help us take that next step, so we can grow and become even better than we are now. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and give it back to Rick. It is a pleasure again. Thank you guys for being here, and back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. Like I said, Leonard carries the heart of the union with him in this work, and I think it's going to be great. I'm looking in the chat, and I'm seeing some pretty cool organizations. I see folks all the way from East Texas, which is kind of what we call Rhode Island, and some other folks. Thank you all for joining us. I see people who are doing great work across this state. So yeah, if you all are here, please lift it up and put your union in the chat, so we can get the joy of seeing the breadth of folks being engaged. So one of the very exciting things about this transition, in addition to me getting to sit at home and bounce my grandbabies on my knees and stuff like that, is the fact that Leonard has taken over as president, but also that one of the most powerful women in the labor movement is stepping up to be the secretary treasurer, and that is Lorraine Montemayor. Lorraine has done it all in the labor movement in terms of really building programs, centering the voices of new leaders, giving leaders the tools to assume their rightful place here, and brings a heart that is all in for the labor movement and all of its corners. So I want to bring Lorraine Montemayor and introduce you to her, and say that please welcome the Secretary Treasurer elect of the Texas AFL-CIO, Lorraine Montemayor. Lorraine, say hey.
Hi, muchas gracias, Rick, for that lovely introduction, and good evening, union family from across the state. I am super excited to spend time with you as I hit the ground running as your newly elected Secretary Treasurer of the Texas AFL-CIO. So let's keep in touch, and I hope to meet you out in the field. Like Rick said, I am Lorraine Montemayor. My career started in the labor movement as a rank and file union member with the great union, Texas State Employees Union, CWA 6186. So shout out to any of my local union family that is viewing. I was a university worker for the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio, doing research. And it was that conversation with that organizer who signed me up, who planted the seed of the possibility of even seeing myself as an organizer. And so when my family and I moved up to Dallas, and the opportunity presented itself to become a full-time organizer for the great logo of Alliance AFT 2260. I said, yes, let's figure out how to grow public sector unions in Texas and grow membership within the Alliance AFT. So, as Rick mentioned, I have kind of worked my way through various ranks in this movement, and each rank has had its challenges and fulfillments of really truly seeing the power of the collective and really seeing the power that lies within our membership and seeing the power that lies within our unity across the Texas labor movement. And so, as I leave my current position as the Training and Leadership Development Coordinator here for the Texas AFL-CIO, I am excited and thrilled to just magnify and amplify the work of educating and empowering rank and file members to see the leadership within themselves, to see themselves fully and wholly as part of the movement and find space for them to really ignite that activism. And so that is looking like expanding and using my leadership to expand that work through Ruth Ellinger. So that goes without said that what it means for me to step into this leadership position is excitement because of that work. But it's also a bit of unimaginable as an individual who comes from the east side of San Antonio, where my working class family had to grind every day to get to have any of these opportunities. I bring them with me into this leadership position, and I think that that is what grounds me as far as making sure that in this capacity moving forward as Secretary Treasurer, I keep continuing to opening the doors for women and immigrants and people of color and young labor leaders and making space for further voices to be heard. So, like I said, I'm excited to just meet you and have one-on-one conversations out in the field to really see what moves you about movement building and how you can then truly connect with us as we move the work forward as a leadership team between Leonard and myself. So let's bring back Leonard into the conversation and let's dive into what we are thinking about doing as a team. And yeah.
No, that's awesome, Lorraine. Thank you very much. And again, I mean, just the history and the work that you've put in, I think that is, we're going to be able to work together and balance ourselves out from the private sector to the public sector. The experience that we have, each of our respective experiences that have gotten us to this level is going to be key in navigating these times, because we can all agree it's a difficult time out there right now. But the other thing we can agree on is that we have a lot of good work that we're doing here at the Texas AFL-CIO already, from our communications side of the house to the politics and policy, to the organizing, to the immigration work that we're doing, and the rest of the team that's here. We're doing a lot of great work. But the thing we are focused on, one of the main things that we're focused on, and jump in whenever you're ready to go there, Lorraine, is we want to make sure that we want to educate members. That is one of the focal points that we are going to be on, is educating members. We have to educate members, and we have to bring members out, new members. I think you've heard me say it. You heard Lorraine say it right now also. And also just in the organizing space. That is important for us because we do have to grow. Growth is important for all of our organizations independently, and for the state Fed, and for our local central labor councils across the state. We have to grow ourselves and help everybody else grow, because there is so much opportunity right now. Union popularity is at its highest it's been in decades, and you can go on and on about why it's so important. But I think on the education aspect, I think I'll give it to Lorraine here to see if she can add to that at this point.
Yeah, I think ensuring that we have a more informed and powerful movement through our rank and file members is going to be key for us to continue to act boldly and continue to be big in this moment, right? The way our political climate is, and it can hopefully not create us to retreat and act small and feel hopeless, but really looking at content and curriculum around pushing back on authoritarianism, pushing back on that, and really embedding that into how we weave that into the work and the various different departments of our work here at the Texas AFL-CIO to continue to act more boldly. And so as we move forward as a leadership team, we will definitely be expanding and looking at our affiliates to see what more can we add into the lane of educating and training rank and file members. So stay tuned as we continue to expand that and lift up that work, because we do know that a more powerful and informed movement is going to really take us and to really push back and fight back. So yes.
No, that excuse me. That yeah, and Lorraine hit the nail on the head. I mean, education is key. But one of the other things that we are going to be focusing on that we're talking about, I mean, we're still going to continue all the other buckets of work, I guess, if we can say it that way. But organizing, we have to figure out how to organize. We have to figure out how to bring out those new leaders. We have a lot of great leaders that are in these spaces right now, but figuring out how we grow our army. How do we grow the folks that are going to stand up and fight back whenever we're needing help in if it's going to be in Dallas, or if we're going to be in San Antonio, if we're going to be down in the Valley, if we're going to be over in El Paso. We need to grow that network that we have so we can then help support each other across the state. Because the state is huge. It's 254 counties. There's 2 different time zones. And there's a million different issues that everybody is concerned about. And labor needs to be at the top of everybody's list. Every elected person at every elected office, they need to understand that labor needs to be one of the top issues when they're talking about their platforms and the different ways of doing things. And that's something that we can do, is to help organize the workers that we have, because there are more of us than there are of them. And them being, the workers over the billionaires type thing. We need to take the power that we have, like Lorraine was talking about. We need to own that power. We need to use that power. We need to come together. And again, it's the education, it's the organizing, it's coming together in those spaces. Yes, Lorraine.
No. And as folks are hearing this, like if something is bubbling up inside of you, please drop in the chat or your comments on any questions that you may have. I saw one around the Women's Committee and how that was used as an on-ramp for additional engagement in leadership development. And that is something that we are putting our heads together on how to better sustain it and make sure that we can bring that into the fold of the work of the organization. So I just wanted to bring that out in the conversation, as it was something that was added from our viewers.
No, for sure. You're spot on, Lorraine. And I think we are want to make sure that you get your questions in before we get to the next section of the event or the town hall that we have going on. So again, you got any questions, throw them in there so we can go ahead and get to them. And again, we appreciate everybody being on here. We are looking forward to working together. You have our contact info. If you don't, we will get it to you. But this is exciting stuff. We're excited for the opportunity, and we appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Lorraine?
Yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time to tune in and listen. And we hope that we will continue to have such platforms or conversations to continue this conversation. I'm trying to see if there's any additional questions that are being geared to us, but I think we're good. Yes. So one thing that we want to highlight and that we've seen come up in a couple of your comments is we have a union president from the IAM up in Fort Worth who has taken the leap to run for office, Senate District 9, which is in Fort Worth. Just finished, came in first in his election, is headed to a runoff. So we're super excited to see that type of momentum and energy coming out of Fort Worth during this election period. I believe that this is a great opportunity for us to truly lift up union members who are wanting to run and be at the table where decisions are made at our state legislators. So, Leonard, would you like to add more to our excitement around Taylor Ramette?
Yeah, Taylor is running for Senate District 9, and if you're not involved in that yet, you need to. We just had a call with him this morning, and just think about it. In a deep red Republican, and I'm not about Republican and Democrat at this point. I'm talking about us versus them, workers over those other folks. And you have a union member who is putting it on the line, who is taking off of work, taking personal time, and being out there not on his own, but taking his personal time from work to run for this seat. It is a special election. And in this deep red district, he came within 2 points of winning outright against 2 Republican opponents. They both were over $1 million in the money that they had and they spent on this race, both of them. And I think he barely broke about $60,000 that he was able to put together, and was able to get to that threshold of almost winning outright. We have a great opportunity to pick up Senate District 9 in this space, and we need all of you, everybody on here, to get involved. Go back, talk to your unions, see if they can get involved. If you have any questions, give us a shout, and we can get you the information that you need on how we can support him, because we're not sure when the governor is going to call this special, when it's going to happen, but we need to be able, we're already positioning everything to be in place so we can just kind of flip the switch and get the machine going. But we need everybody to be involved. So if you can do that, if you have the ability to be involved, be on the lookout for, we're going to be doing phone banks, text banks. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff, or try to do a lot of stuff for him. This is a great opportunity for union to show its strength, and we need to take advantage of it.
Yeah. And just a moment of privilege, and just like me being proud, because Taylor Ramette was in the second cohort of Ruth Ellinger Leadership Academy that I had the privilege of leading in the capacity of training and leadership development coordinator. That is where the spark kind of took off. And it was in that space where he saw the potential within himself to like really take on and lead and put himself out there. Also, one of his field directors was part of his cohort as well. And so shout out to Carla for really connecting with Taylor and really being committed to doing the groundwork out in Fort Worth and lifting him up, and seeing all the other Ruth Ellinger fellows from across that cohort giving him shout outs and stepping in where they can, whether that was a text bank or a phone bank. I think some of them went out and blocked themselves. So there will be plenty of opportunities for everyone who is joining us to engage and assist in getting our union member across the finish line to be the next senator for Senate District 9. Yes. All right. So, with that being said, Leonard, should we bring back Rick?
I think so. I think it's all right.
Okay, let's bring him back. Let's talk about this transition process. Yeah.
Well, I'm back. See, that's how it works. Like, I'm here and then I'm gone and then I'm back, but I ain't coming back. So this is this is where we're at. Yeah, it's exciting to listen to y'all talk about this stuff, because this is kind of the direction that you guys have both been pounding on us. You know, Taylor's election is a really important marker for what you guys have been driving this organization to do, which is to say we can't rely on Democrats or Republicans to be our savior, that we got to be our own saviors. And we have a union member stepping up to run. And, you know, we don't have to lobby Taylor, because he's one of us. And the more we can do that, I know Lorraine, you were involved in putting on the candidate school where we trained up a whole passel full of union members who are running for office. We have other folks around the state running for state rep, whether it's Montserrat Garibay, who was the Secretary of Treasury, who's running for state rep, whether it's Jeremy Hendricks. And I shouldn't have started down this road because I know I'm no, my bad. But getting union members to say, hey, there's no reason you have to be a lawyer or a insurance salesman to be a state rep. Union people can be that too. So I think it's a really cool thing. And I saw Rosemary's question about right to work. I think that's the question that we need to start putting out into the world here, which is, are you with us or against us? And the easiest way to find out is, are you in favor of getting rid of right to work or not? Because if you're not, then we don't really have much use for you at this point. We need folks who are going to be all in with the labor movement. I think we're going to, okay, sorry, Rosemary, it was Jeremy's question. My mistake. I'm sorry. But the question is still important. And, that is going to be on the questionnaire this time, as we start to separate, and we explain what it is on the questionnaire so people can understand what it is. And then, are you with us or are you against us? Because that's number one question. Do you stand with unions? Are you going to come to the picket line with us? Are you going to use whatever power you have to help us organize? And, that's tired of just giving away our support for nothing. So there you go. So that's where we're at. I don't see any other questions here, but what I think at this point, in terms of the transition process, is what Leonard said we're talking about now. And Leonard, I don't know if y'all know, Leonard is the president-elect. So when he says that's what the next thing is, now we got to start listening to him and paying attention. So when he says we're going to be talking about the transition now, the process is this: the executive board voted unanimously to put Leonard in this position and Lorraine in this position. And so December 1st, I will ride off into the bitter cold sunset, and then they will take over December 2nd. They'll get sworn in, and then the new era begins. So I think, like I said, just listening to both you, Leonard, and you, Lorraine, talk, you've obviously thought a lot about where this is going. And I'll just say that I'm really excited about the direction you've laid out. I'm also excited about the team here at the Texas AFL-CIO. When I started here, we had about 190,000 or so members. We're now up to over 240,000. The labor movement in Texas continues to grow, even as it shrinks in other places. I think we have to continue to work to create that culture of solidarity, a culture of growth, a culture of nobody's going to save us but ourselves, and the way we save ourselves is to get bigger. So I feel really good about that. I feel like the staff here at the Texas AFL-CIO, when I started, we had like 6 people. 6 or 7 people, counting directors and administrative staff and officers. And now we have a powerful, diverse team of 13 or 14 people that are kicking ass in all the areas of this thing. And I'm really excited that they're going to be traveling along this with you. And the other projects that we have going on. It's all about building a culture of solidarity and building a movement that has the courage and the resources to make the kind of changes that we need to be making in Texas.
No, you're exactly right, Rick. And then just jumping back to the questions real quick, we got another question that came in, and I don't know if Lorraine, you want to take this one, or Mr. President, if you want to, but like building on the youth organizing. I guess is that getting down into more of the young active labor leader space, is what I'm assuming. But just that's a question that came in, and wondering if one of you two want to take a crack at it.
Yeah. So if it is in the space of the young active labor leaders, I think that it is a great opportunity for us as incoming leaders to like really sit down with that leadership and like really think through how do we continue to grow and expand what has been built and created before us, and how do we get more younger voices into the fold of the work at the table, really working with affiliates who do perhaps university organizing, and looking at the different college spaces that are currently being organized and how do we get them engaged into the young active labor leaders. But I think it could also be a little broader too of like how do we get down to high schoolers and start thinking through about talking about unionism and organizing in the state of Texas, because so much misinformation, miseducation is being had at that level, and how that can really assist at their workplaces eventually when they become workers, to be able to name what a bully looks like or what poor conditions are, and letting them know that it doesn't have to be this way, and that they're so that's kind of how I would think of it. Rick, do you have more to add?
I think Leonard looked like he was about to say something.
Or Leonard? Yeah.
No, that's right. And then as we're working it through that space and trying to get the younger folks involved, it's also, I mean, it's a combination. We got to take the again, the groundwork, like we talked about at the beginning, right? The folks that have come before us and have laid the foundations for us. We can't forget what we have in place, and we have to think about how we can work together in new ideas and how we evolve and continue to change the movement. Because we can't be static. We have to be flexible. We have to be able to move, and we have to take some of the news, take some of the old, and find a way to bring it together so we can work together. Because that's the biggest thing. We got to be working together in this, because there are too many forces on the outside that are trying to keep us down. So us coming together is key. The communication and talking together and making sure we are all on the same page. Another way that we can try to get involved with a younger group of folks is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Texas Climate Jobs Project. That's one of the initiatives that Rick helped create here, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But in that Texas Climate Jobs Project, there's a workforce development piece that was started, the Texas Construction Career Project. And with that, it is taking the building trades pre-apprenticeship curriculum, and it is offering it across the state of Texas underneath the Texas Construction Careers Project, where it is offering individuals that are looking for a change. It is geared to help women, veterans, people of color, people that come from the disadvantaged communities, people that typically don't have the opportunity. Because, I mean, as great as we are as our own organizations and our own unions, we're not very good at letting people know what we do. And so this program was created to be able to get out into those areas. There is a demand, there is a need for workers across the board. So this MC3 class that Natalie Obregon is leading as a workforce development director there is one of those. And they just finished up a graduation here. They had a class here in Austin that graduated just last week. And we were able to be over there and see that, and watching everybody take their 3 weeks of training, become familiar with the construction industry, understanding that there are many different trades and many different opportunities, but coming out with certifications that are employable right off the bat. That is another way where we can open the doors to get people that typically wouldn't have opportunities to come into our ranks. And that's something that we are part of the work that I just wanted to acknowledge, that we're getting a lot of younger people in that space to come on in. I think the average age, I mean, they were right out of high school or in their early 20s. And so those are those new younger members that we are talking about, and folks that we can help in this space as far as trying to bring in new union members. But it's something that we're proud of. It's something that I'm really proud that Rick, in the space that in his time here, that's just one of the things and the accomplishments that he's done. Rick has had many accomplishments throughout his time. And I think we can a lot of us wouldn't be in the spaces that we're in if it wasn't for Rick. We wouldn't be doing the work that we are doing if it wasn't for Rick. And just listening up, I'd like to list off a couple of them if I can. One of them is just again, the Texas Climate Jobs Project and how that has been created. That I remember those conversations, Rick, when I first got here, and how you were already had this idea and this plan and this vision of creating this space, and how that has just grown into this unexpected just machine that is bringing in folks that weren't even in favor of it. You had people that were pushing against this, and you were able to bring them together, and you were able to show them the value of it. That's just one. I wanted to mention that one of the accomplishments that I thank you for having the vision and having the will to continue to fight for that one. I don't know, Lorraine, if you wanted to jump in with any of the accomplishments that Rick has had. He's had many.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the best part, y'all. Everybody pay really close attention to this. I mean, this is like some serious shit right here. Okay, so listen up. Yes, go ahead.
For me, I would like to highlight how you are a compassionate leader, and a true ally, and how when you move in spaces and when you bring people together, you have a way of really making space for individuals, not only like myself, but others, who perhaps are a little more introverted or a bit, a bit more introverted, but especially a really like deep ally to allowing women in the labor movement to speak our truth, to see ourselves fully in this movement. Your idea of the Women's Committee and allowing that space to just be and happen, and how it is now an honor to be able to lead that, is just amazing. And so I think overall, yes, you've created many on-ramps on like how we can show up and like really live out what it means to have solidarity amongst ourselves. But you have been able to use your privilege and your leadership to make space for everyone in the labor movement to feel that they are truly a part of the labor movement. So thank you.
Wow. Lorraine, that is, Leonard, that is so intense to hear you say that. And for purposes of this call, I'm just going to accept that it's really true what you said, because it feels very good to hear that. And I think that, when we're doing this stuff, and I think every union leader that I've ever spoken to, it's like, it's everything, this job. It's not a part-time thing. And I think, I've seen you guys, I've seen our affiliates across the state put everything they have into trying to represent their members and trying to lift up working people. And we work so hard at that, and we don't really stop and reflect very much. And I just would say that to hear you guys kind of reflect on that is very meaningful to me. In the course of this transition, I've had a lot of conversations with people that have talked about ways that we've interacted that have left an impact. And for those of you who I have had conversations with, just know that I treasure those conversations. I treasure hearing, stories and things that happened that moved you. I hope I can talk to some more people before I leave. But, this whole thing is, I guess I would say I'm not out of central casting when it comes to what a Texas AFL-CIO state president should look like or are. And I know that it was, I was only there because of John Patrick and Becky Moeller, who saw that in me. And I'm very aware of how precious it is that folks were able to trust me to do this job, and the gratitude that I feel for the relationships that I have developed along the way, for the fights that we've been in together that have forged bonds that will never be broken, for seeing people take steps that they never saw themselves taking because of a program that we've put together or because of some way that they've interacted, is just the most meaningful thing in the world to me. And so I just, as I make this transition, I just want folks to know the depth of the gratitude that I feel to the folks that I interacted with along the way. And I would also say that I also have deep, deep gratitude to our Texas AFL-CIO staff, folks who are here now and folks who have worked here throughout this process, because we can list everything that you say is my accomplishment, and not a goddamn thing happens if it wasn't for the hard work of the staff and our affiliates, frankly, to support it and to make it happen. There are no kings in this movement, and it's about solidarity. It's about working together. And when we look back at the stuff that's happened over the last 10 years, every single thing is due to the work of a whole group of people. And I feel deep gratitude for that as well. And then, I guess, are we wrapping? Am I wrapping this up at this point? I mean, I think the last thing I would say is that, and I said this to the folks at the executive board, is like, Pat, people say, well, how can you all do this work in Texas? It's so hard, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, it's hard. Being a union person in Texas is, it's not a walk in the park. But we know that people want unions. We know that people like unions. We know that 80% of young people like unions and want to be in them. And we know that we're bringing something to people that they need and want, and that can make a difference. If you measure success by how many policy victories you win, or how many bills you pass, or how many union elections you win, those are things that are all important. But those things often are out of our control. If you measure, like, did we leave everything on the table and use everything we have to represent working people, then I think we had a lot of victories. If you measure, did we grow a whole new generation of leaders that are willing to take this to the next level because they were touched somehow by our work, then that sustains you. I mean, the look in somebody's face when it clicks for them that there is something else for them, and they can be more than they thought they could be, that's priceless. And so many things like that happened over the course of that. And, so it's been the most rewarding thing I could ever imagine doing. And I'll just say that, even though it's hard in Texas, that a lot of people work hard, and a lot of people don't feel like their work has meaning, I guess. And I feel like the work that we do has such deep meaning, because if we can build this labor movement in a way that I know we can change Texas. There's no question that we can. And if we can change Texas, once we do that, we change this country. And then once we change this country, we change the world. And who gets to say that that's the work they get to do? And that's the task for the Texas labor movement. And so that's what, Lorraine, that's what you and Leonard are fixing to take on. I'll be here to help any way I can. I won't stick my considerable beak in where it doesn't belong, because I believe y'all need to take this where you see it and need to go, but never doubt for a second, to you or any of the folks on this call, that I will be there for you any way that I can. So with that, I just want to, again, thank Leonard and Lorraine for stepping up. I want to turn it over to Lorraine for some closing remarks.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen in and tune in and hear what is happening here at your Texas labor movement. And in order for us to really change Texas and get involved, right? We need you and your friends to all subscribe to our channels on social media. Ensure that you get onto our email list so you can stay in the know of what is happening. And I look forward to seeing you out in the field and thinking through how we continue to just grow and expand our labor movement. So thank you for tuning in. And so, Leonard.
Yeah. And again, thank you to Rick. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you to everybody who joined us here and was willing to just go down this opportunity to go back and forth with y'all and be able to share some stories and such is meaningful. And so just thank you guys for your willingness to do it. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the work that you guys do every day, day in and day out. Just really quick, I mean, it's going to be hard. I mean, we got to remember what we got coming up in front of us is going to be hard. And again, we've had great leaders come in front of us, and we have a great leader that is with us here right now and is going to be transitioning out and going to be with his grandbabies, like he said, I think earlier in the call. And we are lucky to have Rick. We are lucky that we're still going to be able to call Rick. We're going to try not to bother him that much. But again, just this is just an opportunity that I never knew that it even existed. So again, being a kid from the west side of San Antonio coming up and having this opportunity is just special. And so I promise I'm going to do everything that I can. I don't forget where I come from. This is something that we have. This is something that we're going to be able to do together. This is something that we are going to do, and we are going to win because this is our time, and this is the time for us to take our state. And with that, Rick, if you can take us home, please.
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, when we do take this state back, I just want y'all to remember my phone number so I can come to the governor's mansion and sit in there when we finally take the governor's mansion, Leonard. So I'll say that. Second of all, thanks to everybody who joined us along the way. The stuff in the chat is great, but for those of y'all who are organized, do we have any organizers on the call? If so, just pop it in there. For you organizers, you know that the number one job of an organizer is to organize yourself out of a job. And I feel like my work here is done because I feel like, that my job is to make sure that I take that baton, I run as hard as I can with that baton, and I hand it off to the next leg of the journey. And I am so excited to hand it off to Leonard and Lorraine. I think y'all are going to be amazed at where they take you. I hope that you'll help them because this is the most precious thing there is, the labor movement. Obviously, it's not easy times, but deep confidence in what we have and what we build together to take us into the future. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for everything over the years. Don't be a stranger, and we'll see you down the road. Solidarity forever, y'all.